Welcome back to another episode of Buzzworthy Businesses. I'm Steve Strum. Buzzworthy Businesses brought to you by Foodies, Care, and the Daily News Network. I have a couple of really cool guests here today, a new gentleman in my life and a guy that I've known for quite some time. We have Ike Sherlock from Airvan. Welcome to the show. And a dear friend of mine, Patrick. It's good to see you, man.
You too, man.
It has been a long time, and we got some interesting things to talk about with logistics and cash flow management. So, Ike, tell our audience a little, what is Airvan and what is it that you do for the North Florida community and in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. Third-party logistics company, Airvan, AVI. We do all things supply chain, warehousing, transportation, trucking, final mile delivery. We're customs bonded, freight brokers. We do a little bit of everything in the supply chain. We're also just started a packaging division, so we can package and kit for our clients in-house.
So when people think about logistics from a consumer level, I think about if I'm on my phone and I want something tomorrow, I go to a certain website and it magically shows up at my doorstep. Mm-hmm. But logistics is a lot more than that. So walk us through, for somebody who doesn't maybe understand some of the ins and outs of why logistics is such an important component of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just think about the scenario you just talked about. You can order something on your phone and it's going to be on your doorstep tonight or tomorrow afternoon. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, if you ordered something online, that was unusual. You paid shipping and handling and it took so long to get there, you were surprised. It was like Christmas when it showed up. What did I order?
If it showed up.
If it showed up.
Right.
So in just this short amount of time, leveraging and embracing technology in the vertical that I live in, it's just changed everything.
So we're in Jacksonville. You're based in Jacksonville.
We are.
And for folks that might be tuning in that are not in Jacksonville, this city, this area, this metropolitan area that we're in, North Florida, is really one of the hot spots of logistics, not just for Florida, but really for the east of the Mississippi. I've read those economic studies that you can get to Cleveland and you can get to Houston and anywhere in kind of like that circumference within a 12 to 24 hour period. What is it that makes Jacksonville so special doing this logistics, both for our community locally, but then really for the eastern part of the continental United States?
Well, it starts with the business friendly community that we have. The state and local governments are very business friendly. And geographically, our location. We have a deep water port, one of the best deep water ports and best operated deep water ports in the country. We have three railroads, two large railroads and a short line railroad. We have I-10 and 95. You can get on I-10 and drive to California. You can get on 95 and drive to Maine. Like you said, almost 1 billion consumers within a 24-hour truck transit. So we're geographically positioned perfectly. And then the support we get from our government, local and state, is just amazing.
We were talking as we transitioned over to some stuff that Patrick has some specialty in being in banking now for, the last few decades. It has been that long, sir.
Few decades.
We're talking offset about the lifeblood of logistics is cash flow management. So Patrick Heatherington at Prime South Bank, who in all sincerity, I've had the opportunity to be this man's friend. We've done some projects together. We've done show hosting together for the last 20 years. Talk a little bit about, sir, if you could, how you, from a banking perspective, work with these types of companies to make sure that lifeblood continues to flow.
Sure. So, I mean, as far as, a lot of people think about on the banking side that all we do, really get into on the business side is lending money. And that's a small fraction because in Ike's world, a lot of it is on how the money gets moved. We're in the electronic age, especially in Ike's world. Checks are kind of obsolete for the most part because money's changing hands so much. And there's some check movement, but really with things like ACH and wire transfers are really essential. Banks are providing services. If you think about it, the end consumers paying that shipping and handling, but there's a lot of different hands touching the process in there where money's being transacted between them. And that's usually going through electronic means. Then we have enhanced fraud protection through those different channels to ensure that those different parties aren't getting jeopardized and their funds being impacted. But then also when capital needs arise and things like that, providing some additional working capital and things to help them fund some of that process.
I was wondering if you were going to say the F word,
Mm-hmm.
fraud. With all of this electronica, fraud is at an all-time high.
Big time.
Both obviously for what
Mhm.
you're doing, end-to-end stuff. I mean, the old-fashioned pirate people taking it off of the rail car. But in this digital age where we are sending millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars every second, everywhere, what are some of the things that, business owners like an Ike or even a consumer like myself, we don't even see? Like, what are some of the things that you guys are doing to ensure that that money is transferred without being hacked and all the horror stories that you see on the news?
Sure. I mean, well, fortunately, a lot of times in Ike's world, they're dealing with a lot of the same partners. So they're typically using the same account information that they're doing those transactions with. So on the front end, when they're establishing those relationships, we're encouraging the way that they obtain that information be sent securely, verified over phone through phone numbers that they know, not anything through email. Email hack is probably the number one way that someone's vulnerable. I could tell you loads of stories about somebody closing on a house and wire instructions were sent via email, intercepted in process. Somehow the numbers were manipulated and changed. And by the time it got to the originator of that wire, it was to go somewhere else. And so if someone didn't verify that information and they send that wire, it's going to a fraudster. That fraudster is then going to quickly move that money somewhere else before anybody knows what went on so that it can't be called back. And when it comes to something like a wire, especially if it ends up being moved internationally, you might be out of luck.
Wow. So it is just the thing, it's not just you hear about like Granny getting nailed by somebody, go and get your code and stuff like that. This is pervasive. And so one of the things is you've had your career in banking and, obviously with Prime South, that's something very important.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And then that makes sure that you feel like secured to be able to, do those transactions. So as we kind of look forward into the future, banking is not just, like you said, that guy that's lending you some money going, here you go, buy that car, kid. It's now really becoming an integral part of cash flow management for a business like yourself and many other businesses to exist.
Absolutely.
So as we look forward into the future, Ike, what do you see in whether it's in Jacksonville's logistics operations as we continue to grow as a community or, the greater U.S. in general, as we start having more and more a global economy? We've got AI that's kicking in. And obviously what's the future of that is a big TBD. It's evolving every day. What do you see happening, whether it's in our community or an expanded community, over the next 5 years in the world of logistics?
Yeah, before I talk about that, I do want to say, it's important for us to associate it with bankers like Patrick who understand what we do, because what we do is very unique. And having a banker partner, financial partners who understand the interactions and the under the hood of a logistics company is super, super important.
Almost like an ad hoc CFO.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our vendor partners need to understand our business and what we do. And I think that's true in every business, right?
More and more every day.
Your financial partners need to understand what you're doing and what your goals are and to have good business, So we do is a third-party logistics company. We have warehousing and we have transportation. And typically warehousing is really, really good and transportation slower. And then it pivots and transportation picks up and warehousing slows down a little bit. So we, for cash flow, we always have something that's really, really doing well. We have something that's we can fine tune and do better with. Mm-hmm. And then we're ready to jump when that pivot starts. That pivot's starting. There's a real hard turn towards positive transportation numbers nationwide.
Now, what does that mean for the average consumer? So, I've got kids, I own a business, people watching this stuff, when you're talking about that pivot, what does that mean to the average citizen? We'll use Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been to Jacksonville since we've had a stoplight in certain intersections that now have the giant spaghetti thing. And, it has just continued to grow. And it's one of the things when I moved here from South Florida, I was really excited about was the opportunity for growth of a city like that. Where do you see those trends for the people watching this that might be in Jacksonville going, you know what, I got it. Like, what does that mean to them?
So operationally, like we talked about earlier, it's faster. It's more transparent. You can track your packages, you can see your packages coming, and they get there faster. Unfortunately, like in all things, when you go to a restaurant, it costs more. When you go to the grocery store, it costs more. Fuel costs more. So transportation costs are up, and us as consumers bear the burden of that.
We could have an entire episode of the impact of oil and what that means on logistics, cost, delivery, and even the ancillary things you don't think about, like the cost of broccoli went up. Why is that? Well, how many of these things use diesel? And so, but it is just a fascinating discussion, things that people, don't think about sometimes, right? You see the flashy stuff like, the Jaguar Stadium, very excited about that, right? We're gonna have this really cool looking stadium, but you gotta get the panes of glass from wherever they got the magical panes of glass to there in a reasonably efficient way that allows obviously the cash flow to happen so that it can actually have the transactions go along, which is just phenomenal. And in an industry that's going to be around, it's going to be such a core to our economic, growth, both locally and nationally. And I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us today. And, man, it is amazing to see and how the evolution of banking has become literally that ad hoc CFO. We go on for hours about this stuff, but here's what we're going to do. So for now, as we take it away, I'm going to make sure to put all of your information on our website, which is the Daily News Network, and of course, Patrick's banking information on that. You guys have been great, but we can't do any of this stuff without these guys over here. So guys, if you like this episode, make sure to share the episode. Come check out Patrick and Ike's information on our website, which is the Daily News Network. Remember to always live with gratitude.